You gotta shoot him in the head to finally put him out.
If I ever turn into one of those things, do me a favor, blow my fucking head off.
So there was a number of ways that you can do that as far as head hits go. Whether the camera's super close or wide, or whether it was a principal actor or just a background person, all these different variables play into it to help you make the decision on how you're gonna actually achieve it. There were quick and dirty ways of doing it, and the special effects men in Canada called them kabuki hits, and it was basically just an air mortar attached to the back of the neck with a chamber of blood in it.
And there's a tube that comes up like behind your head, and right here there's a nozzle that sprays straight out that way. And then the guy has a trigger, he hits a button, and then blood sprays out the back. And it works best when you're against a wall or a door. Action!
When you push the button, air comes flying through here, pushes everything out through this tube and all over the place.
The actors actually trigger it themselves remotely, or it can be also triggered by a remote control depending on what the actor's doing. Because a lot of times it's easier for them to hit the button and they know when they're going to react.
The ultraslime gives you that really gooey look, like the slime stuff. And this will give you like brain matter and a big splasher. So it looks cool. On my off days, I make margaritas.
Just move your head around and see if that's comfortable, if we're choking you or not when you lean forward at all.
No.
That's all right?
Good, yeah.
Okay, good.
Basically, Steve gets a jet pack, and he flies away.
And I can go. See what happens when you...
Yeah, he's the Boba Fett of zombies, exactly.
3, 2, 1.
That's freaky, huh?
The other challenge was for on-camera exit wounds. The traditional is the squib hit, which is a detonated device on the back of the head with a blood pack. The result is a little cap pops and the plug flies out of the head. Burt Reynolds, he's played by one of the stuntmen, and we put the squib hit on the back of his head. But you can only get so big with those because you can't put that large of a hit next to the person's head. So we needed to come up with a way to basically pull more of the head off with the hit. And we devised this ratchet system. This is one of the plates that we designed so that the ratchet system could be used. And a cable would be woven through there and attached to the brain. And the brain is a rigid plate that on action gets pulled by an air ratchet, and when it's pulled off, it activates those flaps. And there's all kinds of stringy stuff that attaches this to this. Blood bags and slime and threads and yarn and all kinds of stuff. And the effect is horrifying.
It's an air ratchet driven by a dive bottle. Cable goes to the fixture on the head, and push of a button yanks it out at millisecond speeds.
We get our pick point nice and high, so we got a good trajectory and looks real. Great. Good work. Now we're attaching our tagline to the prosthetic that's mounted to the top of the head. We're going to attach this to our ram line. We're going to fire our ram, which will pull this wire and rip the scalp off of our zombie, or have the appearances thereof.
1, 2, 3,
That's gross. Okay, play both again, please. Oh, Jesus. That's like death. We got it? Where he is right now is perfect.
Shaking, lots of biting.
Action! And oh! I saw chunks. Oh, meat shot!
The character of Andy meets his maker when he's shot point blank. It was a silicone head. The interior of the head was loaded with blood bags and sponges and goo, and everybody's behind screens and's got face masks on because it's going to be a pretty big explosion. 3, 2, 1, boom! And the thing just vaporizes. When you look at it in slow motion, everything just goes. The two eyeballs go flying across the room, and everything's just completely vaporized. And this whole wig thing clears frame just enough for them to use that piece, and then it falls back into frame. Marsman is a stuntman in Canada. He played the maintenance man. And we had to create a very lifelike silicone head of him so that he could receive a mallet handle through the chin and out the top of his head.
Right through the head.
You know, when you make a life cast of somebody, you can only explain to them once what to do once they're under the alginate. And you hope that as a performer, they can help you with the scene by adding something to it and helping you capture that look that's frozen in time and ultimately will be the selling point of the gag. So if it's a stupid expression, it's going to last a lifetime. And his life cast came out cleaner and nicer and more perfect and precise than any one I've ever taken or anyone that anybody in the shop had ever taken. So with Darren, that gag is so successful, and the blend between him and the fake head is so seamless because of what he did for us. We had him come back so many times and sit right next to the fake head while we painted and matched and hair for hair and color for color.
You ready? Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
When they cut back to the actor, it's all one and the same when you see the scene put together. Usually when you do something like that, you kind of try and conceal it in a turn or a shadow or something swiping the lens or something, but he's just in all his glory there, and giant silicone fake head taking up the full screen and all lit and just look great.
Anytime, Darren. Action.
There was one stuntman by the name of Dave Campbell. The most obvious physical trait of his is he has no legs.
Action.
Dave Campbell's big scene was the garage zombie, and in fact, that was the first thing that he did do. The garage sequence is a big kind of turning point in the film. It's one of the first big scares once they're in the mall. The idea was that he was going to be coming down the pipes of the garage, hand over hand, with his legless body kind of trailing behind. And then from the pipes, he'd be letting go and grabbing the cast member and taking him down and biting him. They harnessed him and cabled a little bit of weight off his back and actually led him around with that. So it created this kind of freakish speed.
When he let go, they pull him down and he landed on Barton. Shoot on him like that.
A classic example of how we were using people's physical attributes to create the character is the jogging zombie. He was missing his entire right arm from just above the elbow down. So we turned him into a freshly amputated bite victim. His makeup was relatively simple. It was a stage 1. It happens when the truck is coming into the mall. Whether it makes the final cut, I don't know. But he's one of the first examples in the script of a fast zombie, because you see him go from just kind of walking around, and then he spots our victims, and then he's doing 100 miles an hour.
Loaded Woman is not a woman. It's a guy, Ermis.
I think that Stoney, the stunt coordinator, thought he was going to have a hell of a difficult time finding a stunt woman who was big enough, who could play the part, because it involved a big fight scene. So they opted to go with a man and gave me the challenge of turning him into a woman. I think we probably had about 6 weeks to design and create and test, and then finally get him on set.
He has a goatee, and he's kind of tough looking guy in real life. He doesn't look like a woman at all. Thank God, right?
You can make somebody look like something, but unless they turn it on from inside, it's nothing. And whether we made him look like a woman or not, he had to play a woman. He had to be a woman. It came time to put the wig on him, and it looked horrible. So luckily we had a pretty good stockpile of wigs, and we started playing around with them, and we popped this one on his head. It's kind of this scraggly, salt and peppery hair. As soon as we put it on him, the whole thing just completely came to life, and he knew it, and we knew it, and we were taking digital photos and showing them to Irmis. And as soon as he saw that it was something that he believed, this performance came out of Irmis that nobody knew was going to come out of him. And all his stunt friends were kind of ribbing him because he was so good at it.
I'm looking straight into your good eye.
Into my one good eye.
To transform her from healthy to dying was not an easy task because she was so beautiful. It was one of the principal characters who was in a zombie makeup that was not pre-designed in Photoshop. It was one of the characters that was shot in sequence, and we just let her evolve in her makeup day by day, just so long as one day was worse than the next.
I loved watching horror movies when I was a kid. I saw American horror movies translated in Russian, and they were still terrifying. I basically watched half of them with my eyes closed like this because I was so scared.
The character of Monica, we had to create a life-size, lifelike dummy of her because inside of the arcs there's an accident and commotion, and a chainsaw kind of gets out of control and passes right through. We had to start off by taking a full life cast of her and recreating her whole figure with a silicone model. We had to be able to repeatedly shoot that scene. It was not a one-take deal. You couldn't put all this money into a dummy and then actually try and cut the dummy in half and hope that you'd get it in one. It had to be reloadable. The whole cut area is actually a cartridge that would fit down in there. And that cartridge was loaded with all the blood bags and goo and everything. One take, after the chainsaw passes through it, that whole cartridge could come out and be replaced with a brand new one. And